Located in the city of Sebring in Florida in the United States of America, is arguably one of the most well-known and professional road courses in the United States, the Sebring International Raceway. My name is Alex Andersen. I am joined in the commentary booth by Randall McGrew with Tim Cox in our virtual production truck. Here tonight for race 2 of season 10 of the Spec-5 World Tour here from Sebring. A bit of information about this racetrack for you tonight. Located near Sebring, Florida, Sebring International Raceway is one of the oldest continuously operating racetracks in the US. Its first race being run in 1950. Sebring is one of the classic racetracks in North American sports car racing and plays host to the 12 Hours of Sebring. The raceway occupies a portion of Sebring Regional Airport, which is an active airport for private and commercial traffic that was originally built as Hendricks Army Airfield, which is a World War II training base for the United States Army Air Forces. So a lot of history at this racetrack, and we are here in probably one of the most entertaining series you will find on iRacing with these little Miatas, as we have just 1 minute till qualifying gets underway here tonight. So, Randall, welcome into the booth, as currently we're looking at Kenneth Staub. He's going to go into the hairpin out of Big Bend here, and just what do you think after Daytona? I mean, we saw a fantastic show last week, and you think we're in for another one tonight?
Oh, most definitely. I expected a much more tame race at Daytona, with it in much more of a draft train than it turned out to be. I suspect we'll see a bunch of drafting here tonight, maybe some fuel saving. But after last week's performance, I wouldn't be surprised to see elbows out early on, fighting for positions on track.
Yeah, definitely. And this track, it's pretty narrow if you're looking at what kind of stop has to drive through here as he heads into, I believe that is the Bishop corner there. And then he's going to head through turn 15 and into turn 16, known as Lamar here. And just, you can see just the small surface these guys have to race on. And I'm not going to lie, for me driving this track just myself, it's a very intimidating racing surface just with how narrow it is. And you have no room for error at this place. As if you go off track, you're heading straight into grass, and that's going to eventually lead to a barrier. So it's a very hard and abrasive racetrack for cars to get around. But obviously, these guys are definitely doing really well around here, as Mitchell peaked at the fastest time in practice, and now qualifying is underway, so now it's all up to the drivers to see where they qualify for tonight's race.
Now, this series uses a fixed setup, but this is definitely a track you want to tune your setup for. It's got a very rough surface, particularly on the front and back straightaways, so you want to soften up those dampers a little bit so it can the car can eat the bumps a little bit more. But that might sacrifice a little bit of corner speed, so it's a big compromise on how much you can take as a driver on the rough course.
Yeah, and this is a 15-minute 4-lap qualifiers. We're looking at Brian Zabelski here, one of the first drivers to take to the track here, as he's going to head through turn 3 and then into the big bend that leads straight into a tightening hairpin here. That goes straight into a bit of a chicane there that's full throttle if you can get the right exit. But through Big Bend, Brian Zabelski comes, and it's pretty much a small straightaway combined with a large sweeping corner. But the draft runs the guys are going to be able to get and just be able to throw it to the inside of each other going into the hairpin at the end of that, what I'm going to call is a straightaway there. It's going to be insane to see what these guys can try to pull off each other, especially when it's late in the race and these guys are really jostling for position, especially up front towards the lead.
That's right. The braking zone into the hairpin is the biggest braking zone on track and probably the best passing opportunity for anybody. But as we get later in the race, they're really going to have taken a chunk out of their tires. It's going to be interesting to see who has ambition ahead of adhesion and overdrives, possibly missing the corner completely or taking out a competitor.
Yeah, and these guys, 2 tires are free to take when they have to take fuel, because like most races, these guys will have to pit for fuel before the end of the race. And what I mean when I say 2 tires are free is that during your pit stop, you can take 2 tires and the car will still be refueling when you get put down off the jacks. And if you take 4 tires, the thing about that is it's gonna be close depending on how much fuel you put into the car, and also the amount of fuel you have saved. So you could see guys take 2 tires, come back on track and be good, or you could see people take all 4, but they might lose a little bit of time on pit road due to the amount of fuel these guys have to put into their cars and how long that may take. But Brian Zabelski's going to head through Sunset Bend and back onto the front straightaway. He's going to start his first flying lap. The target time that these guys are trying to hit here is about a 2-minute 17, 2-minute 18 long lap time. So we're going to see if we can get a bit of a track rundown here, if we can go on board with Brian Zabelski here, heading through turn 1 right now, which is really a tightening corner, and it really narrows on exit with the amount of track that you have to hit there. You got to get right up against the wall and bring it perfectly out on exit. Then you got to head into turn 2, a sharp braking zone to an abrasive 90-degree left-hand corner that really tightens up on exit. Then it's an almost full throttle left-hand corner. It's a bit of a sweeper here. Then into the full throttle big bend under the Fresh from Florida bridge. And now it's full throttle all the way down to the hairpin under the Mobile 1 bridge. The 85 car will come as well. And now this is the biggest braking zone on this racetrack heading into this hairpin. You got to get it right onto the curb so you can get a straight exit to not really go out wide and have to spend more time turning than you would have liked to. He's going to head through Fangio there. That's turns 8 and 9, another full throttle section. Then he's going to head, then Brian Zabelski's going to brake hard into turn 10, which is, I would say, about a 95-degree right-hand corner here that really throws you around on exit. You got to go straight back to the left and then into Tower here, which is turn 13. Then it's going to be down the straight. I did call this corner Bishop a few minutes ago, so that is Tower, not Bishop. Now he's going to head down this short chute into what is actually the Bishop corner. It's a bit of a full throttle flick of the wheel to the left here. He's going to hit the curbs a little bit, get the car up into the air tad, then really eat the curbs there and brake hard into turn 15 here. Then he's going to head towards the Le Mans corner here, which you got to get as far left as possible to have a nice drive through it to save as much speed for the Ullman back straight here. Now it's just a full throttle section. You're going to see a lot of drafting battles occur down this straightaway. It's very long in these cars. It just seems to keep going on and on and on, but eventually you will see the braking cones up there on the left-hand side, and you got to get right up against the wall and then brake into Sunset Bend, which is a continuously going right-hander that's a bit of a sweeper, but it is also a 180-degree corner that brings you back onto the pit straight to complete your flying lap. We'll have to see where this puts Brian Zabelski. It looked like a pretty clean lap to me.
It looked like he ran a little bit wide in the setup for Le Mans, but aside from that, it was a pretty tidy lap, so it should be a pretty good result for him.
Yeah, but currently Mitchell Peak, who was the fastest in practice, takes pole by over 4/10, or provisional pole, but with a 2:26.003. And oh, there's Brian Zabelski. It looks like he just overcooked it a little bit too much there. That's going to end his entire lap, and he has to drive all the way back around to get a new one started here. Now we're looking at, I want to say this is Kenneth Staub trying to complete his lap there. And I'm not sure where that's going to put him. It's going to put him 8th. With a 2:27.127, only 9 thousandths behind Greg Mack up there in 7th. And I want to take a moment to talk about the open class for a second, and you'll see that there's one blue marker inside the top 5, and then 6 cars separating that blue marker back to one of the other blue markers for a driver's name, and that is Adam Prins there in 5th place. We're looking at Mitchell Peak right now, but Adam Prins 6 places away from his nearest open class competitor in 12th place, which is Paulo Coimbra, which, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, sometimes the open divisions, or in other leagues you may call them amateurs or pro-ams, you'll see that you'll have 1 or 2 mixed in high up in the pros. And normally that happens because this is that driver's track. I would guess that Adam loves Sebring, and he was just absolutely drooling at the mouth, waiting to get to this week. So he's definitely showing his muscles here at Sebring. We'll see if he can keep it up during the race.
Yeah, and currently keeping it up during qualifying is this 56 car Mitchell Peak for Team Esport Racer here. He's going to head into the Le Mans corner and down the Ullman straight here, and behind him is Rui Coimbra, over 4/10 behind him, actually, which is a big gap for these cars. So obviously this 56 car is really fast, but Rui Coimbra last week, I don't want to say he got handed the win, but he pretty much got handed the win there after everybody was jostling for position, trying to take away the slipstream, and then Rui Coimbra, which, if there's anybody who don't want to give a win in this series, it's got to be Rui Coimbra, which, I mean, just off how fast he is, and he's always in the top 5 or top 3 in any given race. So definitely he's still showing that muscle, but Jedediah Babinek now has taken second away from him, only 66 thousandths off of Mitchell Peak's time, which is a pretty nice gap there as Mitchell Peak has just started his second lap. Here's Jedediah Babinek here heading through turn 4. He's going to head through the big bend, and I mean, these guys, Lee Martin actually goes P3 right there, but I mean, if they're going for a championship, these guys are going to have to watch out for Rui Coimbra in P4.
That's right. And like you said, he may have gotten lucky last week, but luck is just when preparation meets opportunity. And Rui Coimbra made the right move at the right time. He thought himself that he was a sitting duck, but ended up bringing home the trophy. I wouldn't count him out even if he starts in 10th tonight.
Yes, currently we're looking at David Staub heading down the Allman Straight in that 36 car. Only around 5.5 minutes left in qualifying for these guys to get their laps in. So David Staub is going to head into Sunset Bend to start another lap. Currently P6, doing quite well for himself, but I would assure you that he definitely wants to get that gap closer.
Yeah, he's been green in the first 5 sectors, so it should be a pretty fast lap for him.
Yeah, and these guys are pretty close on times at the moment, and David Staub actually goes P3 there, and that sets Rui Coimbra into P5, and currently we're looking at Ray Lombardi, who has given Adam Prins a challenge here, currently only 1 spot ahead of his nearest competitor, and then Josh Olson has also set his number 21 car into P12 here, so this open race is still going to be very interesting. It looks like Ray Lombardi has set that comment aside as he goes P4 with a 2:26.17 for a great lap from him, and if things stay the way they are right now, Adam Prins and Josh Olson are going to have some work to do.
I suspect that Ray Lombardi's days in the open class are numbered. This may be his last season there, especially if he wins the championship.
Yeah, definitely, because the Open Class Championship winner moves up into the Pro Class at season's end here. But the thing is, Adam Prins and Josh Olson are also going to be really competitive to try and get that trophy here. And they are all super competitive like we saw last week. Actually, I think Ray Lombardi might have missed last week, if I'm not mistaken, as Greg Mack and Simon Foweather are going to set these guys. There goes Brian Zabelski up to P10. That's going to set these guys even more cars apart. And Ray Lombardi still holding on to a top 5, but Simon Foweather moves himself up into P4 at the moment. There goes Otis Adams into P10. Andrew Kosick into P24 there ahead of Stephen Hellowell. So these guys, I mean, Adam Prince is going to have some work to do if these things stay the way they are right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of spots to make up, and hopefully he's going to be hoping that Ray Lombardi may succumb to the pressure of racing with some of the pro guys up there mixed in. We shouldn't be seeing many more faster laps now unless somebody came in for new tires on one of their laps, because 4 laps is a lot of pressure or a lot of punishment to put on these tires at this track. So they probably ran the good off them now. Unless somebody made a big mistake in their fastest lap, we probably won't see many more improvements.
And these guys, I mean, as their tires wear, I mean, 4 laps doesn't seem like a lot. But at this racetrack and how rough it is, it really can be a lot for these guys. And with how fast tires can wear here on their 4th lap, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are starting to struggle with getting that turning grip to try and get themselves faster lap times, as Ray Lombardi is going to complete what I presume is his 3rd flying lap around here. Now we take a look at the 135 car of Joshua Soto, who, might I add, in only 6 laps last week at Daytona, went from 27th on the grid and brought that 135 car up to the lead. So if he did not just disconnect, which no, he did not, he only actually connected recently, he could very well be a threat to win this race.
It's definitely somebody you want to keep an eye on tonight, especially with draft playing a role.
Yeah, and currently Kenneth Staub here in 15th, and Jordy Fike behind him. I want to talk about Jordy Fike because, I mean, he was up there fighting for the lead last week, and I mean, now he's not doing too hot down there in 16th place overall as he heads into the Lamar corner and up the Allman Straight. And like you were mentioning, Randall, this track is a bit of a driver's track, so I wouldn't be shocked if he just doesn't like this track all that much, and he's just really struggling to wheel that 09 car around here. But Ronnie Coates goes P4 there as Brian Zabelski actually goes P7. Greg Brockway up to 17th. That's going to put him 4th in class. Rui Coimbra puts himself back into 7th after originally being 9th. Otis Adams and Tom Rath move up places almost identically there. Andrew Kosick up to P18. So everybody really with those last couple of laps are actually getting a lot more grip and really starting to improve their times.
I bolted this setup onto my MX-5 and took it for a few cider laps. From my experience, it was a little understeery, so the setup may not suit some driving styles at this track. Some drivers may be better at adapting their driving styles to the setup and taking advantage of the available grip, so that could be what's telling the difference between the faster and slower drivers tonight.
Yeah, as we take a look at Charles Vaccaro here in the 164 machine here, I believe he's heading into Tower there. Hard braking into the 90-degree right-hander. A bit of a surface change there through the corners. Actually, no, that is not Tower. I do apologize. That is turn 10 right before Collier. Turn 11. Now he's heading into Tower. Braking again for another hard 90-degree right-hander. Surface change onto concrete, then back to asphalt there, which just, I mean, it's one of the main features about this track that just makes it so abrasive and hard to drive, and it's just a really fun driver's track, and these guys, I would say, are going to put on a show here tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna see some really good racing tonight. It's going to be interesting to see who takes care of their tires early on and tries to save them for later. Even if you only take 2, it's kind of a gamble which side you want to take, because there are high-speed corners in both directions. So the side that you take, you're probably going to take lefts, but that's going to compromise you for turns like turn 1.
Yeah, but even then, for low-speed corners, I would rather take, for the low-speed 90-degree right-handers and the hairpin as well, I probably would rather replace the left side tires, even if it may, I don't think it would actually hinder the car too much, especially in sweepers like turn 1. I mean, you might struggle in turn 2 a little bit, but overall it's going to help your speed to just take left sides over the right sides, as there are more right-hand corners on this track than there are left. So Charles Vaccaro is going to finish this lap, and it's going to be the last one he can complete, and he moves himself up into P4 in class, just as these guys come across the line. So real quick, we're going to go through the race. We're going to go through the qualifying results here before we get to gridding. So let's see if we can pull those up real quick. But currently, Mitchell Peak on pole with a 2:26.003, and then Jedediah Babinec only 6 hundredths off there in P2. David Staub in P3, Ronnie Coates P4, Simon Foweather P5, and Ray Lombardi way ahead of his nearest open class competitor there in P6. Rui Coimbra in P7, Brian Zabelski in P8, Lee Martin in 9th, Otis Adams Jr. in 10th, Greg Mack in 11th, Tom Rath in 12th. And a little bit further back, we have Adam Prins, the second open class driver. He has a lot of work to do if he wants to catch up to Ray Lombardi there in 13th. Josh Olson in 14th, Kenneth Staub in 15th, Charles Vaccaro in 16th, Jordy Fike in 17th, Greg Brockway in 18th, Andrew Kosick in 19th, Paulo Coimbra in 20th,
Right,
Tom Athan in 21st, Jose Gonzalez in 22nd, John Casey in 23rd, and David Tamira in 24th.
Really
and just before we take to the grid, we are going to, I missed a few guys. Stephen Hellwell in 25th, Joshua Soto in 26th, and he hasn't set a time, but definitely look out for that 135 car to make his way through the field, and Brew Silva in 27th. But just before we take to the grid, we are going to take a quick look at what is coming up on slow motion broadcasting. So this Sunday night we have XSLR with the Dirt Sprint 410s at Knoxville Raceway, which is going to be an interesting race after what happened at Bristol there, which was a really good race, so you guys aren't going to want to miss that. The next Monday at 9 p.m. EST, we have XTC, which is the GT3 and GT4 cars at Circuit of the Americas, their first of 2 hour-and-a-half long races. Then next Tuesday, we have WSRL at 9 p.m. EST, which is LMP2s and GT3s at Fuji Speedway. You're not going to want to miss that, especially with that field of cars. And 9:10 p.m. EST the same day next Tuesday, running alongside each other, is the Mustang FR 500s of the SBO Network's American Muscle Series at Watkins Glen. Then next Thursday, we have the Spec-5 World Tour back again at 9:15 p.m. EST, which is these Mazda Miatas at Virginia International Raceway. So to get that out of the way, we are ready to go racing here from Sebring International Raceways. These cars are rolling off the grid, heading into turn number 1. We are definitely set up for a good race here tonight.
I couldn't help but notice that Josh Soto had that Florida plate under his name, so this is definitely his home territory. Will he be able to do again what he did last week in Daytona? It's going to be much more difficult, though, at a track like Sebring.
Yeah, definitely. In this track, it's very narrow, very abrasive, and that's even what the IRL drivers say, the in-real-life drivers, especially in the IMSA Sebring at 12 hours. And I mean, those guys, they just look absolutely beat when they climb out of their cars. They openly say that it's the most difficult track on the schedule. And man, I agree with them. You can just tell by the track surface and how these guys have to handle it that it is very difficult to get around, very rough, very abrasive, and you definitely got to have an improved suspension on your race car to just make it around a single lap at this place without the suspension bottoming out and just completely breaking itself. So definitely a very unique track, one of the most famous courses in the U.S., and it's definitely going to give us a show here tonight. And I mean, we have a lot of different things that could happen here. I mean, we have some of the fastest drivers in this field in these cars up front with Mitchell Peak, Jedediah Babinek, and David Staub here. Rui Coimbra, the current Pro Championship leader, starting back there in P8, I believe. Or no, excuse me, that's going to be P7 for him. And then, I mean, Ray Lombardi, the only open driver in the top 10 there in P6. And then Adam Prince, his closest competitor, stuck back there in P13. So this race, I mean, a lot of different things that could happen and a lot of things that could definitely go wrong.
That's right. I hope Ray Lombardi took some stomach pills because he's going to be under a lot of pressure from these pro drivers to maintain a high pace. So We'll see if he can maintain and keep his racecraft in order to try to stay up there with the pro guys and get a big windfall of points over the rest of the open class.
And speaking of points, the pro guys that are in the top 5 right now could definitely make a lot of moves to get closer to Rui Coimbra and even probably overtake him if Rui Coimbra cannot make his way through the field. But I would not count that 78 car out. But a lot of the pro drivers up there could definitely make a decent amount of points up on our pro championship leader here to try and take the lead, especially after what happened to Rui. But Joshua Soto, who never seems to qualify, is one of our fastest drivers up here, not even in the top 20. Didn't set a lap. He's sitting back there in 25th, not even close to the field, but definitely going to watch out for him to drive his way through the field. But back up towards the front of these guys as they're probably starting to turn into Sunset Bend. If we can take a look at that, not even, there they go, turning into Sunset Bend. And the anticipation looms over this 3.6-mile racing facility. The iRacing safety car is going to dive into the safety of the pit lane, and now it's all up to the flag man as these guys hang the gas pedals, and the green flag is out. We're racing for race 2 of the Spec-5 World Tour here from Sebring. Mitchell Beek gets a pretty good start, but Jedediah Babinek matching it as they go 3 wide for third back there. That's the 236 car of Simon Foweather trying to make some moves into turn number 1. Almost gets up to the leaders, but Mitchell Beek and Jedediah Babinek side by side out of the first corner. Everybody seems to make it through pretty well. Joshua Soto almost off track back there, and they're still jostling for position all the way into turn 2, and that's an incident back there. It looks like they might have continued on just fine. No, everybody saves it then. No, that's Adam Prinz off track. He was starting 13th, had to catch up to Ray Lombardi, and now he's back there in 25th. That's going to be a massive punch in the stomach for him here. Here's Jedediah Babinek here, though, trying to get around Mitchell Peak during the first lap chaos. He very well could there, but it looks like he lives as they break hard into the hairpin. Rui Coimbra has already made up his way to 6th, and already a chaotic start as these guys are still jostling for position back there.
If you're Adam Prince, you need to clear the system. Make sure you don't make that one mistake turn into multiple mistakes. You still have plenty of time to regain contact with the field. It's still pretty compressed. Take a deep breath, make some moves, and get ready for that pit stop and try to rally.
Yeah, as Adam Prince has already gotten back into P23 there. He's already made up 2 spots here, so now he has to try and get around Jose Gonzalez. But Jedediah Babinec still just trying to chase down Mitchell Peak on the opening lap. He'll probably get a run down the Almond Straight, but Ray Lombardi has maintained his position, and he's up here with the big dogs. The only open driver almost in the entire top 15, save for Josh Olson there in P14 here. An amazing show for himself. He has to keep it up for the remaining 43 minutes in this race, though, if he wants to gain a good amount of points on the guys behind him. But the car in front of him, Rui Coimbra, has already made up several spots here, but these guys starting to split up, so the draft might not be that big here, as the amount of tight corners could really set some cars far apart from each other. But these 2 straights back to back, the Almond Straight through Sunset Bend, then back onto the pit straight, could be where these guys can make moves on each other, especially if you're Jedediah Babinec there in P2, who's getting a really nice run on Mitchell Peak into Sunset Bend.
Turn 1's entry is so wide that it's so inviting that it's not uncommon to see cars going 2-3 wide even throughout the race. No surprise that we saw them 4 and 5 wide at the start of the race.
Yeah, it looks like Mitchell Peak breaking the draft down that front straightaway, who currently gets fastest lap, but it's going to be faster here as they head through turn 1 for the second time tonight. That's 2 cars side by side. Otis Adams Jr. and Lee Martin there, who Lee won the Open Class Championship last season, moves himself up into the Pro Class and is proving to still be a really good competitor here, as these 2 are still side by side into turn number 2. And it looks like Lee Martin is going to get that position, as Jedediah Babinec is going to have another shot at Mitchell Peak as they head through Big Bend and into the hairpin once again this race.
It'd be interesting to see who starts scouting out that move early to try to set it up for the end of the race. If they take left-hand side tires, they have tires to burn early on, so we'll see who gets aggressive and who decides to lay back and try to save some fuel.
Yeah, and it looks like if you're one of the drivers, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, you know you're safe in the main pack with the draft on these straights. I would be one of the guys, if I was in that position, to try to be saving the tires and saving the fuel, so we can put less fuel in the tank, get the tires on, and just make sure that we have a bit of fresh rubber to burn off towards the end of the race, and that we spend less time in the pits. But this is 2 cars side by side for, I believe, 19th here. That was David Tamira and Tom 8th, and Tamira ends up getting the better of it and takes that position through, I believe that was turn 8 there, and now they head towards Tower to do what is probably most likely an identical corner, just with a bit wider exit, I would say.
Tower corner is a lot like the final corner at Road America. You want to have some steering input as you get onto the brakes to keep the left side loaded, and that's the way you carry the most amount of speed through there. But if I want to speak briefly here on Josh Soto watch, he's made up 8 positions so far.
Yeah, and they aren't even complete on the second lap here. And Joshua Soto, if he makes his move quickly, he could have draft throughout his entire run through the field there, as he gets really close to Paulo Coimbra there. But it looks like he's going to get his nose in and a run down the Almond Straight here. This straight, even at full speed, just seems like it keeps going on and on and on for these guys, which leads to some big drafting opportunities, as actually Ronnie Coates has gotten around Jedediah Babinec for second here, and that's going to lead Ronnie, who we know is a very fast and dangerous driver, to win these races here. He's going to now have a shot to try and get around Mitchell Peak for the lead of this race as they come around to complete lap 2, as Joshua Soto has gotten around Paulo Coimbra back there and now is going to set his sights on Charles Vaccaro here, as actually Joshua Soto, no surprise there, gets the fastest lap with a 2:25.774. So you're going to want to watch out for that 135 cars, because he's coming through the field and he's coming through it fast.
Ronnie Coates making the move into second leads me to believe that Jed may have made a mistake in Sunset. Normally, Ronnie Coates is the type to lay back and conserve a bit. Maybe he's feeling punchy. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and if he isn't going to pull any punches, the next shot where he can probably make a move, he could be brave and try dive bomb here, decides the better of it here. Actually, this is Andrew Kosick here, heading through turn 4 and into the Big Bend. Comes under the Fresh from Florida bridge here. I believe this was probably somewhere into the hairpin. Looks like he's heading into the hairpin here. Not sure if I'm seeing something different. And it looks like he got hit from behind somewhere on track, which sent him which sent him spinning around there. So unfortunate for him, but these guys still battling for position. And Joshua Soto has gotten around. Oh, wait, no, excuse me. It looks like he made up the position on Andrew Kostic, which is moving up into 16th, but he's already gotten really close to Charles Vaccaro here, so he definitely has a shot to make a move, but who else has a shot to make a move? Ronnie Coates, and this time it's going to be for the lead here. They're going to head through the that's Bishop there. And now they're going to head through turn 15 and into the Lamar corner here. 90-degree right-hander into the Ullman straight here. Ronnie Coates needs a good exit, which he's going to get here. And he's going to have the added boost of draft from both Mitchell Peak and Jedediah Babinek behind him. So Ronnie Coates could make a move into the Sunset Bend, and if not, he could definitely try to make one down into turn number 1. The gap is closing here down this straightaway. It looks like he's not going to be able to get there, but still very close to that number 56 car, and he could very well make a move into turn number 1, but it looks like he has overcooked it a little. Jedediah Babinek now gets to his inside for P2. And it looks like Mitchell is going to try and separate both of them with the draft, or just try and keep him even here down the main straight. But currently, Ronnie Coates has the advantage, and that gap still closing down this front straightaway here. So down into turn number 1 for the 4th time today. And it looks like Ronnie Coates still not clear of Jedediah Babinek, who really runs wide. They're using all of the track. And it looks like Jedediah Babinek is going to take a P2 back. Oh, and that's a bit of contact back there for P3. That was Simon Foweather back there in the 236 car. So these guys really getting their elbows out early.
Yeah, if you make one mistake, the whole train of cars behind you is going to smell blood and try to make good on your missed opportunity. I think what happened there with Ronnie Coates is he showed his nose going into Sunset. I think he backed off to save a little bit of fuel and maybe misjudged his brake mark, ran a little wide, and opened up the door for Jedediah Babinek.
Yeah, now they're going to head through this top section of racetrack through Collier. Now this is Jose Gonzalez here battling with Tom Athan for 20th place, and it looks like he's going to get it through the hairpin. Athan has to run wide. There's Adam Prins behind him as well, who it looks like has recovered quite nicely from that lap 1 mistake there through turns 1 and 2 here. He's currently in 22nd and has the speed to, I would say, get around these 4 cars, but probably playing it smart and biding his time. There's Joshua Soto has gotten around Charles Vaccaro and Jordy Fike in the time where we weren't paying attention to him, and he is only 1 second back from Kenneth Staub, so he still is close enough to make moves on guys there. So you see that gap just closing ever so closer to the car in front here. He definitely is trying to make his way through the field, and he absolutely has the speed to do it.
Adam Prins is in a very sticky spot here. He wants to lay back and save his stuff for the end of the race, but he also needs to make hay while the sun's shining and get around these guys. He's definitely faster than them, so you may look to see him pull an undercut on the pit strategy to try to get around some of these slower cars.
Yeah, and if he can set some fast laps after that, he could get around. Is actually, speaking of around, that's Paulo Coimbra, who spun around after the Lamar corner. I believe he probably just overcooked it there, might have hit the grass. Here he is going into Bishop here, turn 14, behind another car. Not sure who that is in front of him, but into the Lamar corner. It looks like he's gotten onto the curb, but no, it looks like he's just gotten the right front tire barely over the curb, and that's upset the car and sent it right around and into the tire wall. He has recovered it here. Or excuse me, no, that was Jose Gonzalez. I was looking at the not a team car is pretty equal in terms of looks there, but that's going to end Apollo Coimbra's night here. As we take a look at the chopper camera for David Tamira here behind this group of 2 cars here. Adam Prins behind him as well. It looks like got a better run than all of them through turn 1, but dips the right sides off track here. These guys still single file for the most part, and single file up front as well, as Mitchell Peak still holds on to the lead of this race.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to get dicey as we see one car go off there.
That was Tom Athan there, who is going to lose the position to both Tamira and Prince, I think. Here's a replay of it. Looks like he gets wide off turn 3 and then into turn 4. Just way too wide, misses the apex, and off track he goes. Does a great job not damaging anyone else's race cars with it. But it looks like that's going to let David Tamira and Adam Prince through, as these guys all right in a train right on Mitchell Peak's back bumper.
This is more what I expected to see last week, and this is what we're seeing this week is a very tame lead pack trying to just draft their way to the pit stop and kind of leaving Mitchell Peak out to dry here. He may be a sitting duck leading this long.
Yeah, and another thing is that with the draft, with the boost that it gives you, you can lift about maybe halfway off the throttle, and with the draft still keep up to the car in front of you. So if you're Jedediah Babinek, Ronnie Coates, Simon Foweather, David Staub, all those guys that are in the top 5 and are really in this draft train could just lift off the gas a little bit down these straights to save some fuel here to be better off towards the end of this race. But and that's what it looks like so far. But Ronnie Coates being the one to decide against that right now. So he's going to go for a move on Jedediah Babinek into Sunset Bend, still side by side down the front straightaway. He gets his nose out front by the time they have to turn into the corner there. And it looks like he's going. No, he doesn't get clear just yet. And Jedediah Babinek throws it way out wide. That's going to allow Mitchell Peak to pull away a little bit as those guys still battling there. Ronnie Coates takes P2, and Simon Foweather actually slips by as well for P3. And David Staub is trying to get up into P4 as well. Gets his nose out there. Before they get to turn number 1, he's going to have the disadvantage into turn 1, though. But he's going to have a better run off the corner here as Jedediah Babinek really struggling after Ronnie Coates made a move on him, threw it too wide into Sunset Bend, and now he's just tumbling down the orders. Now he's going to find his way back in line after Rui Coimbra tried to get around him. So just really unfortunate from 2nd to 5th in just a couple of corners here in that 55 car.
It was a really cagey move by Mitchell Peak whenever Ronnie Coates broke out of the line to make the pass on Jedediah Babinek. Mitchell Peak moved over to give Ronnie Coates the slipstream. And what that basically guaranteed is that 2nd and 3rd would be side by side going through Sunset and give him a chance to maybe break away a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, that draft pack is going to have an advantage down the full throttle portions of racetrack here. So even if you do pull away, the draft is going to help the guys behind you catch right back up to you. So this main pack consisting of around 15 cars, I wouldn't be shocked if it stays like this throughout the duration of this race.
Anytime you can get the cars behind you to fight, they're saving less fuel. So anytime Mitchell sees somebody making a move, he's going to help that person to try to limit the amount of fuel that they can save, because he's not really able to save any by leading this train the whole time.
Yeah, but the thing that Mitchell Peak could pull off to try and save some fuel is to let one of the cars behind him by, but without letting a bunch of other cars by, to just fall back into 2nd or 3rd. Then Mitchell Peak could go around half to 3/4 throttle down the straights and save some fuel here as these guys head through the Lamar corner. But if Ronnie Coates is dead set on trying to get to the lead, if I'm Mitchell Peak, I'm letting him by to try and save some fuel here, as Ronnie Coates is definitely going to have an opportunity down these 2 straightaways.
We can see what he sets up. I don't think Mitchell Peak's interested in giving up the lead, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the pit strategies.
And back there, if you can see those 2 cars side by side, Joshua Soto making 2 moves at once. Looks like Otis Adams was letting a few cars by. Joshua Soto takes advantage of it and gets around Greg Mack in the process. So now he's got his sights set on Tom Rath, and then there's a bit of a gap between Rath and Lee Martin here for those guys. So Joshua Soto, we know how fast he is, but he still has a bit of work to do if he wants to catch up to the leaders. But Ronnie Coates here, it looks like Paulo Coimbra is back out on track here. Maybe gets a bit of that damage fixed. Maybe getting a bit of that damage fixed here is Jedediah Babinek still just trying to hang on after losing those few spots.
You see a 2-wide battle going into turn 1. It's a great overtaking opportunity. Sometimes the outside line's better here. You can pinch the inside driver and they get a worse run off the corner, but they also get the advantage running into turn 2.
Yeah, and that's going to lead Adam Prince to move himself up another spot to just try and improve his running position after what happened to him on lap 1. But Simon Foweather now going for P2 through the hairpin. He's going to get the advantage through turns 9, 10, and 11 here. But it looks like he has gotten it, as Ronnie Coates is going to fall back into line as they head through turn number 10. Then down into Collier there. I think that's how you say that. It could be Collier. But into Collier they go. Turn number 11, then back down into Tower here. David Staub was just watching that battle from there in P4, and it looks like he's just biding his time here in this number 36 car. He's doing great so far. He just needs to hang on to this to try and get a good result.
The pit window for these guys should be opening this lap. Anytime between laps 7 and 13 are the likely pit opportunities. And we also need to keep a watch on the time as we get towards the final lap. This race could be 18 or 17 laps. So it was very close on the threshold. I suspect that with the pit stop that we'll only get 17 laps. But if we go for that 18th lap, we could see some people running out of fuel like we did at Daytona.
Yeah, and these guys are going to have to start pitting here soon. And like you said, the pit window is going to open here this lap. So the pit window, I would say the main lap these guys are going to pit, I'm going to go with probably lap 9 or 10 here, which is going to be around 22 minutes into this race here, maybe 23, and that's going to just get a nice halfway pit stop. I mean, that's when I would usually pit in one of these races, just to be even on both sides, take some tires and be set to the end. But here's Adam Prince making up another spot there around Jose Gonzalez. He gets it done into Sunset Bend and moves himself another spot up and is still trying to make moves there, but actually goes out really wide there. And Jose Gonzalez, he isn't close enough, or excuse me, that's not Jose Gonzalez, that's Tom Athan there in P20 and P20, and he is still fighting for that 19th spot into turn number 1 here, and looks like he's not going to be close enough to get the move fully done there, but it looks like Prince is going to lift a little bit and let him by. So it looks like these guys are just jostling for position back here, but being a little cautious in the process. And, actually, not cautious anymore, as there's Tom Athan spinning around. Adam Prince has to slam on the brakes and almost come to a full stop, letting David Tamira back by. And it looks like he's just overcooked it into turn 2 as we take to the skies to see what happened. Looks like just flicked it into the corner too hard and ends up spinning around. Adam Prince barely misses him. Great job from all 3 drivers to avoid contact between themselves, but that's going to set everybody behind each other. And it looks like, Randall, I'll let you see the replay of Paulo. What happened to him?
My replay is messing up as well. I think Paulo Coimbra has crashed again, and we see him in the pits.
It looks like he caught the curb at some point on track and went into the wall.
Unfortunately, I couldn't see it either, so I'm not sure. Something's wrong with my cameras, maybe.
Yeah,
we're back on board with Mitchell Peak, though. We should see some of the leaders pit. Maybe someone at the back of the pack, of this lead pack, may try for the undercut. It's really difficult to go to the pits by yourself, though. So if you're towards the back of the pack and you see a big group go, you might stay out and try to slipstream up and gain some track position. But if you see 1 or 2 cars peel off, you might come in as well.
And while we await the green flag pit stops to get underway, we're going to take a moment to shout out one of our sponsors here for the Spec-5 World Tour, and that is TPC Motorsports, which is a 4-year-old racing team based in Birmingham, Alabama, that currently races a Caterham 7420R in the HSR series and a BMW Spec E46. So a big shout out to them for sticking their neck out to support the Spec-5 World Tour and letting us do what we love up here in the booth and getting to watch awesome racing every week. As Tom Rath has now pitted, and that is the first car out of this main pack to come into the pit lane here, and it looks like he's gone in all by himself, which could affect him later on if he doesn't catch up quickly. But it looks like a pass for the lead trying to be attempted there from Simon Foweather, so these guys can definitely get around Mitchell Peak, but it looks like they're just trying to stick in line for now.
Yeah, they're getting a little punchy here as we get to the pit window. This might be a good time to make a move for the lead and then pull into the pits. But again, it's going to be very interesting what happens after the pit stop to see how many of these cars are still together.
I'm actually pretty sure, while you were talking there, Randall, that I saw Ray Lombardi go off track as Joshua Soto tried to get around him into turn 4. Not sure what it could have happened there, but it has set these guys a little bit farther apart. But Joshua Soto moves himself up into P7 here now, and he's closing that gap up to P6, so he's definitely fast enough to catch up to the lead here. And these guys, they're going to have to look out for a surprise from him, just like last week at Daytona.
If he can get around David Staub, that's going to mark 20 places gained since the start of the race.
And that would just be absolutely insane for him. We know how fast he is, and now at this point, it looks like he's just trying to blatantly show it to us as he is slowly closing that gap to David Staub. But these guys, the top 6, some of the fastest guys on track right now, so he might have a little bit of work to do, especially with no draft as they head towards the Almond Straight, as they currently, through turn 14, through Bishop here, then into the Lamar chicane. Joshua Soto could lose a bit of time here down the Almond Straight if he doesn't get draft.
Mitchell Peak feeling pressure for the first time really for this race in the past couple laps. He seems to be weathering it pretty well. We'll see when he decides to dip into the pits.
Yeah, as Simon Foether, after that attempted pass here, has fallen back a few tenths, but he's gaining that back off draft on the straightaway. And actually, I think Ronnie Coates is pushing him down the Almond Straight there. And it looks like Joshua Soto didn't lose too much time there as they head through Sunset Bend and has now gotten that gap under a second here as they exit onto the pit straight. Jedediah Babinek and David Staub elect to come into the pits this lap, as well as Brian Zabelski. So that's now 3 top running cars that have pitted, as well as Tom Rath, who is also pitted. So now these guys, this is where the pit strategy starts to set in here, is now if you're Joshua Soto or Lee Martin, you got to catch up to the cars in front of you, so that way you can pit with the group when the other cars decide to come into the pit lane here. But still, the top 4 electing to stay out.
These cars pitting in front of Josh Soto is actually a really good thing for him, because he's still in contact with draft. He's able to make up raw track position on track and then come into the pits and maybe make up even more. Tom Rath will be very thankful to see those 3 cars coming out of the pit exit, though. That means his early pit stop won't be so penalizing, and he'll have some people to draft with.
Yeah, but honestly, if those guys are already off the pit lane, Tom isn't too close to them now. Actually, no, never mind. Yes, he is. He's actually getting around Brian Zabelski right now. So Tom Rath still very much with the front-running cars here. And he looks like that pit stop hasn't affected him all that much, as he is still a little bit further away from David Staub and Jedediah Babinek than I bet he would have hoped here.
Now they just need to keep it together as they work their way through the open traffic and through the rest of the pit stops. If they can keep the speed up, they'll be right there with the lead pack when everybody finishes their pit stops and fighting for the win.
Yeah, as here we see Otis Adams Jr. here heading through Tower now. And it looks like he just eats that curb. That's what everybody has had to do all day to maintain speed through that tight section of racetrack. And here, Rui Coimbra is falling back a little bit from the 3 cars in front of him. And I don't know if Joshua Soto is very happy about that. So down the Almond Straight, I would expect Joshua Soto to try and make a move here as they head through the Lamar corner. Rui Coimbra making up a bit of time now, but Joshua Soto is going to get a great run down the Almond Straight here, and I would expect this 135 car to definitely go for a move, judging off of how aggressive Joshua Soto has been to start P25 and now is in P5. Only 10 laps into this race, a bit over halfway, but still, that is an incredible feat for anybody to come in and do. Is now I think the front guys are going to start to come into the pits, everybody close to the pit wall, off corner exit, but Joshua Soto is the only one that elects to come in and hitting that cone. I mean, he might have just gotten an unsafe pit entrance here, and it looks like Lee Martin, Ray Lombardi, and Otis Adams Jr., as well as Charles Vaccaro electing to come in on that lap as well. So now it's up to the front 7 cars here. Kenneth Staub is the last car to not come on pit road. So that top 7 are the top cars that have yet to come into the pits.
It's going to be very interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Jed Babinek. You can almost guarantee that he did not get to save any fuel in his charge up through the field. That's one of the unfortunate things about starting towards the back, is you don't really get the opportunity to lift and just sit tight in the draft if you're trying to make up all the positions on track.
Yeah, but he's already out of his stall here and is barreling towards the pit exit, trying to stay in front of everybody else here. And it looks like he's going to do that and more here, as I do believe he currently is on track right now. Yes, he is. He's going to stay in front of David Staub here, which definitely means that he is still with this front pack when these 4 cars decide to pit here. So definitely a very close race, as Simon Foether has now taken the lead for the first time tonight here over Mitchell Peak. I'm not sure where he made that move. I was too busy paying attention to the timing tower, but through Tower, I believe that is, they head through right now. Actually, no, excuse me, that was turn 10, now into Collier, now heading towards Tower, turn number 12 here. hard onto the brakes here for these guys, and the pit window, I believe, ends on lap 13. I'll have to check again. Yes, it is. The pit window is lap 7 to 13, so these guys are going to have to pit soon at this rate to try and just get a nice amount of fuel in the car. Probably going to be a bit lower, so they might spend less time in the pits, try and get the right side tires, or try and get new left side tires, I presume. Or they could try and go for all four here to try and be better off towards the end of this race. But these guys, they definitely have to consider whether or not to pit soon.
As we were talking about Josh Soto rejoining in front of David Staub, Jed Babinek had to pull into the pit lane again, and he was, I believe it was only a drive-through, so maybe he has picked up a penalty due to incident points or some other transgression.
And it looks like Mitchell Peak retakes the lead from Simon Foweather. We'll have to see if they pull into the pits this time. Yes, they do. So Mitchell Peak takes the lead back, and then all four cars come barreling down to the pit lane. Hard on the brakes here. It looks like all of them not getting a penalty, and this is the entire top 7 except for Kenneth Staub, who elects to stay out. Now we have to see where Joshua Soto is on track, who is the leader of that group of cars who has yet to pit here. You see David Staub bump drafting behind him there to push that 135 car down this back straightaway just to maintain speed here. Now they're going to head through Sunset Bend. They're still very close to each other, and now as they head through Sunset Bend to round and collect, or to start lap 13 rather. It looks like Ronnie Coates, Polo Coimbra, all four of those guys onto the pit exit now, and this is where things get interesting. It looks like they're able to take off their pit speeds here, head through turn number 1 like normal, and it looks like these guys just now heading into turn number 1. So it looks like Joshua Soto has not gotten around everybody on the pit lane, but it looks like he is still very close here as it's a race to the lead down into turn number 2 as Ronnie Coates tried to go for it, but Mitchell Peak takes back the provisional lead once again, and it looks like everybody from Tom Rath to Mitchell Peak has gotten a good enough pit stop to maintain pace with the rest of the field, and Rui Coimbra and Joshua Soto definitely have the speed to close that 1 second gap here, so a great job by them to all hang on to each other at the end of their pit stops.
I'm seeing in the sim chat that Simon Foweather has a 40-second pit violation penalty, so that's going to take him out of the race. Right now, Josh Soto has a bit of an advantage over the cars that just came out in front of him, as he already has any tires that he took up to temperature. So he needs to get really aggressive on this next lap and a half, and try to get up to the front.
Yeah, and it looks like Rui Coimbra is doing that job for him at the moment, but it looks like Joshua Soto still isn't satisfied, and he makes the move into turn number 10. Now through Collier they come. It looks like Rui Coimbra tried to go for the over-under, but not able to make it happen, and Joshua Soto takes provisional 3rd place here down into Tower, and right now it's all up. We're waiting for Andrew Kosick and Kenneth Staub to come into the pits, but Andrew Kosick, who I believe has not pitted, is going to be in these guys' way as they head through the final few corners before the Allman Straight here, which could very well affect their speed here, but through Bishop they come. It looks like they're not going to catch up to Andrew Kosick in time, who I would presume is going to pit this lap, as actually Mitchell Peak went way out wide there. I'm not sure what could have happened to him, but he lets Ronnie Coates and Joshua Soto through with that move. Now Rui Coimbra and David Staub can try and make something happen here on the inside as they dash down the straight towards Sunset Bend here. Looks like David Staub electing to push Rui Coimbra down this straight here, and now 2 cars are side by side for the provisional lead here. That was Joshua Soto and Ronnie Coates, and we said it last race, and we're going to be able to say it again here as Andrew Kosick into the pits in 13 complete laps time around Sebring International Raceway. Joshua Soto has gone from P25 to the lead of this race only half an hour in. I am speechless to the amount of talent that Joshua Soto has behind the wheel of that car. It's incredible.
He's definitely fighting on home turf. Now we'll have to see if he took enough fuel, or if he's able to save enough to make it to the end of the race. We have a big gaggle of cars here as people are coming out of the pits, blending into fast traffic. And it looks like they're going to get through here pretty clean. See the 85 car eating a lot of curb, but the 112 giving a lot of space.
Yeah, looks like they went side by side through turn 4, but they maintain it. Now for the lead, Ronnie Coates trying to go around the outside, but I would say that Joshua Soto has the preferred line through the hairpin here, down on the inside, and it looks like he's going to get a bit of a better runoff corner exit here. He's going to have the inside through these full throttle bends here, which is probably going to give him the lead as they barrel towards turn 10 here. As Ronnie Coates now actually has a bit of a run, gets his nose out front before turn 10 here, hard onto the brakes for the 90-degree right-hander here. It looks like Ronnie Coates is going to have the preferred spot, or excuse me, Joshua Soto going to have the preferred spot, and he's going to maintain the lead of this race as they head towards Tower.
Seen a little bit of a lockup out of Ronnie Coates on the outside. You see, Rui Coimbra is sitting in P3. He's in the catbird seat here. If these two fight too hard, he's definitely going to have an opportunity to take both of them.
Yeah.
Greg Mack making a move on Lee Martin.
Yeah, Lee Martin and Greg Mack just went side by side there. It looked like Greg Mack got the better of him through, I believe that was Towers. They head towards Bishop now. And it looks like these guys, they're a bit further away from the top 6 guys in front of them, with Jordy Fike being the furthest car up front and still 6 seconds off of the lead group of 6 cars here. As Tom Rath is the last car in that group of 6 cars, and he's barely hanging on there with a 0.5 of a second gap. Definitely using the draft to help keep up.
Now's the time you got to start making moves and start making your way back to the front of these packs. As you see, Ronnie Coates has made a pass for the lead over Josh Soto. I expect this to be contested right away into turn 1.
Yeah, it definitely is. So it looks like Joshua Soto got the better exit. Now he's got a bit of side draft down the front straightaway, and he's not going to get his nose out front by the time they get to turn 1. No, actually, yes, he did by the time they get to turn 1, but Ronnie Coates is going to have a nice line here. He's going to get a decent exit here towards turn 2 as David Staub is going for position as well in the background. Side by side for 2 rows into turn 2. Looks like David Staub not going to get, oh, yes, never mind. David Staub is going to probably get that position into turn number 4. Ronnie Coates retakes, or excuse me, Joshua Soto retakes the lead, and David Staub moves himself up a place into P3, which is a really good performance from that 36 car and a really good job for that driver so far.
We have 6 cars basically under a blanket for the lead. Any one of these cars could win. As you see them, they're looking to go 3 wide into the hairpin. Looks like discretion was a better part of valor on David Staub's part and Rui Coimbra both. They backed out a little bit and prevented that from happening. I don't see how that would have ended any way other than heartache.
Yeah, and now Mitchell Peak and Rui Coimbra side by side for P4 there, as Ronnie Coates still trying to chase down Joshua Soto for the lead. These two are going to go side by side into turn 10. Rui Coimbra and Mitchell Peak here still side by side. It looks like Coimbra going to get the better line through turn 10. Now as they head through Collier, he's got that position confirmed and he maintains P4, as David Staub is still really just riding the coattails of the 2 leaders here, who are still really going at it for the lead of this race with only just over 10 minutes remaining.
Mitchell Peak's going to be kicking himself for that mistake that he made that gave up the effective lead of the race. He's going to be very hungry and looking to get back up to the front. I expect to see him become very aggressive over the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, but another option he has is to try and be cautious here and just try and bide his time, see if there's maybe a last lap incident from guys getting a little too aggressive here. I mean, that's what Rui Coimbra did last week at Daytona. Everybody was just trying to get in front of each other or just get behind each other to take away the slipstream, as Jordy Fike got really sideways in the background. Everybody was trying to take away each other's slipstream, and that led to Rui Coimbra flying around the outside and stealing the win on the last lap. But Ronnie Coates here trying to get a better line here through the last corner. It looks like Rui Coimbra going for a move to try and get that position back from David Staub. And it looks like Mitchell Peak is going to make those guys go 3 wide down the front straightaway there. Looks like he has to back out of it a little bit, but now they go 2 by 2 through turn number 1 again. And it looks like Joshua Soto looks like he's not cleared just yet for the lead. And these two still very much side by side for 3rd place as they head up towards turn number 2 here. Onto the brakes, and David Staub still has the preferred line through here, and it looks like he's not going to get clear though. Rui Coimbra just might into turn number 4. They're still side by side, and now Rui Coimbra has retaken his spot on the podium, but Ronnie Coates still very aggressive here and still trying to get past Joshua Soto. It's only a matter of time before he makes a good move, I would say.
Yeah, you saw Rui Coimbra was able to catch David Staub sleeping going into sunset. Made a very late move to get down inside and use a little bit of the slipstream from Josh Soto's defensive line to set up this move that took a few corners to get done, but now he's back in P3. We've seen Josh Soto be very defensive on some of the slow corners, and that's exactly what you got to do. You got to make sure that you stay in front of these guys and then try to break the draft going down the straightaways.
Yes, actually, it looked like there was a little bit of rear brake lockup from Rui Coimbra there. And you saw a little bit of smoke dragging from the back of that 78 car. Doesn't look like it's affected him too much, but I have seen that happen from that car a little bit too often, I would say, going into turn 10 as they barrel towards Bishop now. And these guys, they're just not a lot of time left in this race. Lap 15, it's estimated to be an 19 lap long race for these guys, so they don't have a lot of time remaining to make moves. So I mean, they're already aggressive, but I mean, in the last 2-3 laps, they're going to get a lot more aggressive than this, I would say.
Yeah, it's almost certainly going to be 18 laps with the pit stop. I said 17 earlier. I misspoke. 18 laps is my guess. But you can still see some of these guys may have underfueled a bit and are relying on saving. So we'll see what happens towards the end. But definitely going to start seeing more elbows come out as we get closer and closer to the checkered flag.
As Rui Coimbra goes really wide on entry there, it looks like he's going to get a nice drive through the center of the corner here. And Ronnie Coates still has not been able to get around Joshua Soto. He's going to get a nice slipstream down this front straightaway here. But it looks like I don't think he'll be close enough by the time they get to turn 1, and it doesn't look like it here. They still get really close to each other, but not close enough for a move to be made as Mitchell Peak just tried to make a move on David Staub in turn number 1. It looks like David Staub is going to maintain that position as they barrel towards turn 2 here. Mitchell Peak, though, still trying to make something happen. Looks like he thought about a move there. As he sees windshield wipers going up a little bit there. Just all of these guys eating the curb into turn 4. And through the big bend, oh, that's Joshua Soto. Soto went really wide there. It doesn't look like it's affected him too much. He's gotten back on the track in a timely manner, but Ronnie Coates now is going to have an even bigger run off the big bend and now into the hairpin. He's going to try a move here. And it looks like he's going to have the preferred line. I'm not sure if he'll be able to clear Joshua Soto, though. They're going to maintain side-by-side out of the hairpin here. And they're still very even as they head through the full throttle sections before turn number 10. Joshua Soto still has his nose out front. Rui Coimbra trying to go through the middle. No room there. And it looks like he's going to stick with the outside line entering into turn number 10. And it looks like just barely clear of Ronnie Coates as they head through Collier and into Tower. And I cannot believe that Joshua Soto is still holding on to this lead. It's just absolutely incredible driving from that driver.
Everybody's getting really aggressive now. Everybody wants to make their way to the front. They've figured out that it's really hard to pass each other here. These drivers are all really at the top of their game right now. So it's going to be hard to make a move and keep making moves to get up there. And they're running out of time, especially the likes of Mitchell Peak and David Staub.
Yeah, and now side by side for P10, that's Ray Lombardi, the leader of the open class, and Otis Adams trying to make up a little bit of points here. But Ray Lombardi is going to end up with the better of that position. And it looks like Otis is trying to go for a bit of a better run through Le Mans and down the Ullman Straight. That's exactly what he's going to get here, as he's going to be able to go side by side down the Ullman Straight. And it looks like he has his nose out front before they reach Sunset Bend. These guys right with each other here, as this straight just seems like it always keeps going on and on and on. And it looks like Otis Adams is going to end up with the better of that position as they head through Sunset Bend to do it all over again down the pit straight.
As you mentioned earlier, there could be quite a battle going into the last corner. As we see a replay of David Tamira. It seems he had an incident. Overcooks it into the hairpin and bails out on the inside, and money shifts in the process, blowing the engine, and has to park the car, ending his day.
That's really unfortunate. He was having a pretty good day for himself here, and just money shifts, blows the engine, and he's currently sitting in the pit lane watching everybody go around this racetrack. So very unfortunate for him. He was having such a good day here tonight, but still, this race has not cooled off for P4 at all. Mitchell Peak still trying to get around David Saab. He has a good run out of the big bend here, and he's going to be close. He has his nose out front by the time they get to the hairpin. And it looks like David Saab is going to let him take that position here. But no, he actually was going for a better exit. But actually, Mitchell Peak forced him a little bit wide there. That's hurt all three of these guys as Tom Rath takes advantage of it. But that's put Mitchell Peak 1.1 seconds behind Rui Coimbra and still a bit farther away from those lead cars in front. So now Jordy Fike, or I keep saying Jordy Fike, Mitchell Peak has to get his head in the game and try and make up a gap on these guys before they make one on him.
The good news for him is I believe Tom Rath is just biding his time for the last 2 laps. Or sorry, possibly the last lap. He's been sitting back there lurking in 6th. We haven't really mentioned him, but he's definitely in contention to win this. If there's a big battle on the last lap, he can make up a lot of time, maybe come out lucky.
Yeah, and we've seen luck play a big factor already this season at Daytona, and only 3.5 minutes left in this race, so they're probably going to take 2 to go here when they get back to the start-finish line. And this is where Ronnie Coates really needs to try and make a move here as Joshua Soto weaves down the back straight, trying to break that draft. Very smart from him. You see that happen if you've watched the Indianapolis 500 at all. These guys weaving down the straights to try and break up that draft, and it's no different here in these Miatas. As it looks like it has worked as Joshua Soto has maintained the lead heading through Sunset Bend, and it looks like Tom Rath trying to go for a move as well.
Tom Rath is done lurking. He's looking to get around Mitchell Peak and hopefully maybe catch up to these top 3.
Yeah, and now Joshua, it looks like Ronnie Coates, here he goes for a move to the inside of Joshua Soto into turn 1. Looks like Soto is going to end up with the better of that move, and here comes Rui Coimbra to take advantage of the mistake from Ronnie Coates. Ronnie has to settle for 3rd for now. That's going to allow Rui Coimbra a shot to try and get around Joshua Soto when he can here. Through turn 4 they come and into the big bend. This is where Rui Coimbra could make a move as a bit of a mistake from Joshua Soto there. Rui could have a bit of a run here. He could try something into the hairpin.
Also, since this race is now going to lap 19 to finish, we could see some people run out of fuel.
Yeah, and if these guys, it would just be so unfortunate if they didn't put enough fuel in the car. We've seen cars, not even in this series, in other series, run out of fuel coming to the line here on slow motion broadcasting. And it's so unfortunate to watch somebody who's gone through the best they can all races, ended up with a great result for them, and just ends up running out of fuel coming to the last corner. So these guys are going to have to make sure that they still can make it to the end here as Rui Coimbra continues to try and close that gap to Joshua Soto.
Joshua Soto has managed to fend off every thrust and slash from Ronnie Coates, but he has not yet had to deal with former series champion Rui Coimbra. So he could have his hands full in this next lap and a half.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this right now. The Rui Coimbra, from what I've just seen, he's not the best qualifier, but just ends up turning on the afterburners when it gets time for the race. And now, we've seen it happen so many times before. He started around I believe he started P7. Now he's in P2 as they head through the Almond Straight for the second to last time here. Joshua Soto dips those tires off track. That could give Rui Coimbra a bit more leeway to try and make up some time here. He's got the gap under 2/10. He's got it under a 1/10 and a half. He's got it under 1/10 of a second here. He's going to try something into Sunset Bend. Side by side are the 2 lead cars, and it looks like Rui's going to get fully clear of Soto before the mid-corner. Soto tried for a better run through the center of the corner, but it's ended up with Rui Coimbra leading Joshua Soto as they head down the pit straight to take the white flag here tonight at Sebring. Now Joshua Soto goes back to the inside. He's got the gap closing as he uses the side draft. They swing back to the outside as they head into turn number 1. Soto ends up getting clear mid-corner. Rui's going to end up trying to duck back to the inside, but he's not going to get there. Soto maintains the lead as they head towards turn 2.
As long as Rui Coimbra can hold off Ronnie Coates, I think that was just a dress rehearsal for what we're about to see at the end of this lap.
Yeah, the Almond Straight is probably going to be the ultimate stage to see who wins this race, as that's where the draft is going to really come into effect and see who can make up the most time just off the slipstream here as they head through the Big Bend for the final time. Rui Coimbra is going to get a nice run down here. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything with it as they brake hard into the hairpin here. And it looks like Joshua Soto still maintains this lead, and now from this point of the track on, we're just waiting till we get to the Almond Straight.
Ronnie Coates got a little bit of a nose inside of Rui Coimbra there. There was almost a little bit of contact, but they made it through clean. We may see a 3 or even 4 wide drag race to the finish line coming out of Sunset.
I would not be shocked at all if that happens. As into turn 10, they come in through Collier for the last time to head into Tower for the last time here at Sebring. And Rui Coimbra, he just has to maintain that gap and just try and wait until the Almond Straight here. Soto needs to try and push it for his life if he wants to hold off Rui Coimbra down the Almond Straight, even on the short shoots, trying to break the draft here, down into Bishop for the final time here tonight, through turn 15, and then they're going to head into the Le Mans chicane, and really, I would say the Almond Straight's going to decide this thing.
You have to get this corner right. It is absolutely paramount that you get the exit to Le Mans right and get on the throttle as early as possible to have a chance to win here.
And it looks like Rui Coimbra got a better exit as Joshua Soto dips his tires off the grass once again. So now this is going to be the longest straightaway of Joshua Soto's life here. Rui Coimbra still closing the gap, and it looks like he has it under a tenth. He's close enough to make a move. Dives off the racing surface to get there, and Josh is going to hold him there hard on the brakes. Here comes Mitchell Peak up the inside. Up the inside comes Mitchell Peak. But that's going to not allow Joshua Soto to get a good exit. But here comes Mitchell. He's going to try it. They're going to come 3 wide down to the stripe. There's their door banging. Oh no! Joshua Soto by 1,000th of a second takes the win from Sebring. 25th to first place at the end of the day by 1,000th.
Have you ever?
Speechless. No, I've never. Wow.
The top 3 with under 100th of each other.
The top 3 separated by 100th of a second. That is probably the most insane finish I've ever seen. That's incredible.
I gotta say, I called it.
Yeah, you did.
I knew they were going to fight very hard in the Sunset. I got to give my hats off to Rui Coimbra. The line that he took in the Sunset was the bravest thing I've ever seen in sim racing.
Yeah, the line he took into Sunset, Joshua Soto holds him all the way to the apron. Rui Coimbra still has the willpower to throw it in there, pull off what I'm going to say is a slide job to take the lead. Soto gets the better exit, and Mitchell Peak just gets a better corner than both and ends up being able to make a move down to the line. And honestly, when they crossed the line, I thought Rui Coimbra got that for a second. I mean, I thought he had his nose out in front, and that's just insane.
I hate to take away from the excitement of this finish, but something happened to Ray Lombardi in the closing stages of the race, and he finished down in 18th place. I don't know if we have a replay. Hopefully we can see what happened.
And yeah, you're right. I didn't even notice that. That ends up with Charles Vaccaro getting the win for the open class. So a great job from him. Not sure what could have happened to Ray Lombardi there. So we're still seeing if we can get a replay on it. But just I didn't think. I thought we were going to get a finish like that out of a track like Monza or Spa. But at Sebring, that was absolutely insane.
I mean, photo finishes are one thing, but 3 wide for a photo finish? Yeah, you can't script that.
Yeah, that was just absolutely insane. Here's the replay of what happened to Ray Lombardi here. This is going into the last corner, I think. Or I don't think. No, this is coming to the white flag. Multi-car wreck up in front of him, and it ends up breaking his right front suspension, and he ends up having to park that car. Yeah, it looked like Brian Zabelski. Yeah, Brian Zabelski and Jordy Fike kind of stopped in it as well, it looked like. and it looked like just trying to turn for the mid corner, and these two cars just meet in the middle and end up sending each other around. There's kind of the stop getting a bit of damage there as well, and that's a 4-car incident coming to the white flag, and that just shows what would you do for just one more position. It's Greg Mack barely got through there. Here's an onboard replay of it from the 112 car. From Ray Lombardi here, who was leading the open class coming to the white flag, and that's just so unfortunate for him. He led almost the entire race, and it ends up giving the win to Charles Vaccaro.
It's really unfortunate for Ray. When you're in a corner like Sunset and there's an incident mid-corner like that, you're pretty much committed to your line. You can't really do a whole lot to deviate from where you're at without crashing yourself. So he really didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, but these are your race results here tonight. Actually, no, I thought it was Joshua Soto, but if I check again, no, Rui Coimbra did win that race, not Joshua Soto. And on my overlay, it told me Joshua Soto won that. So Rui Coimbra, by 1,000th of a second, beats Joshua Soto. Mitchell Peak back there as well. 3 wide to the line, ends up getting 3rd. David Staub in 4th. Ronnie Coates rounds out the top 5 in 5th. Tom Rath in 6th. Lee Martin in 7th. Otis Adams Jr. in 8th. Jordy Fike in 9th. Greg Mack in 10th. Kenneth Staub in 11th. Brian Zabelski in 12th. Charles Vaccaro in 13th. Jedediah Babinek in 14th. Simon Foweather in 15th. Adam Prinz in 16th. Josh Olson in 17th. Ray Lombardi in 18th. And then it's Andrew Cossack in 19th. Jose Gonzalez rounds out the top 20 in 20th place. Stephen Hallowell in 21st. Greg Brockway in 13th. David Tamira in 24th. Tom Athan in 25th. Paulo Coimbra in 26th. And Bruce Silva, it doesn't look like he started the race, ends up finishing 27th. And what do you say we get to some interviews here for these guys? I'm going to drag in Charles Vaccaro. Let's get to the winner of this race. Rui Coimbra is actually, my overlay is telling me that it was Joshua Soto who won, but Rui Coimbra by 1,000th of a second here. I might need some help dragging him in here as I'm lagging a little bit on my end.
We'll try to get him in here. There he is.
Oh, okay, he is in here, so bit of apologies for that. I was lagging a little bit on my end, but Rui Coimbra for 2 weeks in a row on the last lap, or at least coming to the white flag. You sent it in there. Joshua Soto held you on the apron of the racetrack. You still throw a slider, and you end up with the win by getting just the perfect amount of run off the corner to beat him by 1,000th of a second.
Hey, Alex. Hey, guys. Yeah, that was intense. I thought I can sneak one by Joshua there, but he's too good. He knew what I was up to, and I sent him down the inside there, and he just kept holding me tight. And we're coming up to the turn. You don't practice that. You don't know how to take the turn hugging the wall like that. And I saw, I started making that last turn. I saw the outside wall coming at me, and I think I ended up having to lift a little bit just to survive it. And I think it's just another lucky win, to be honest. I try to stay in the front, be in a position to hope for something good to happen, and it's always great racing with these guys. What a fun race.
Well, if Lady Luck is out there, she definitely threw her eye at you tonight, Rui. I mean, that was just insane. I mean, we were talking about it pre-race and how abrasive and rough this track is. Just how difficult is it trying to wheel one of these cars around there?
It's definitely slippery out there. I felt like the tires drop off pretty quick. I was struggling just to keep up with that front group. Mitchell's up there, Ronnie's up there, Joshua caught up to us from, I don't even know where. He probably started last again. The guy's so fast. And I couldn't save fuel. I was just pushing, crazy.
To confirm that Soto did actually start last. He didn't. It looks like he joined late, never set a qualifying time, and just went 25th to 2nd there at the end. So I mean,
yeah, it's ridiculous how quick he is. Yeah, it's impressive.
It's
hell of a race. Hell of a race. That was a lot of fun, and wow, can't wait to watch that stream. That should be good.
Yeah, we were freaking out up here. I mean, my overlay told me that Soto won that. I thought Soto won this race, but you ended up getting the better of it, and just congrats to you. I mean, anybody want to thank you before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. The guys over at Not a Team, we do a lot of practice together and work together to get better every week. The guys over at Spec-5 putting this amazing league together, and you guys, of course, Slow Motion Broadcasting, for putting on a great broadcast. I know everybody's looking forward to watching it, so thank you guys.
All right, well, thank you for showing up here tonight and giving us one of the best races I've ever had to cover here tonight.
Yeah.
So congrats to you on winning the race, and see you next week.
Thank you, Alex. Have a good night.
Yep, you too. And we will drag him back to the waiting rooms. As now, Randall, I will give you coverage to get in here Charles Vaccaro, who ended up stealing the win there on the last lap, I believe. So, Randall, I'll give you control of that. Is actually Mitchell Peak is in here as well now.
Charlie, it looks like you got rather fortunate to get the win there at the end with a incident coming to the white flag. What was the highlight of the race for you?
Well, it really was a quiet race for me. I was kind of mid-pack, just running along. I guess it would be coming through that crash. I was in the middle of it. I had to find my way through it without hitting anybody.
I imagine your eyes were pretty big at that point. Did you think you were going to survive?
Well, I sure was glad I did. I didn't think so at one point because there was a car cutting across trying to get to the pits, so that was a little rough. But it was a good race. It was a fun race.
That's great. Anybody you'd like to shout out?
I'd like the guys to put on the race and for you guys broadcasting an awesome time and listen back to it later on.
Well, all right. Well, great job tonight. Hopefully we get you back here in the interview booth again throughout the season.
Yeah, thanks. Have a great night.
And we will drag him back to the waiting rooms. Congrats to you, Charles Vaccaro. And it looks like that is going to be all we have for interviews here tonight. So real quick, I know we mentioned it earlier, but once again, these are your next streams that you will see here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. This Sunday night at 8:10 p.m. EST, we have the XSLR going back to the dirt here in the dirt sprint car winged 410s from Knoxville. That's going to be a really interesting race. You're not going to want to miss that. Not next Monday, but the Monday after, we have at 9 p.m. EST XTC, which is the GT3 and GT4 cars at Circuit of the Americas, their first of 2 hour-and-a-half long races. So definitely be sure to stick around for that. And next Tuesday night, we got 2 streams going on at the same time. That's going to be WSRL at 9 p.m. EST, which is LMP2s and GT3s at Fuji Speedway. And with their field sizes, that's going to be a heck of a race. And AMS, which always delivers fantastic racing, next Tuesday as well at 9:10 p.m. EST. The Mustang FR500s at Watkins Glen, which is always a show when they go to that racetrack. So definitely be sure to tune in for that one. And then next Thursday, we have the Spec-5 World Tour once again at 9:15 p.m. EST, which is the Mazda MX-5s at Virginia International Raceway, which after what we just saw, I think everybody should try and watch that race. But that was just an absolutely just insane race from everybody involved, and just what a race from everybody.